and welcome. I'm Millicent Walker. Tonight, daredevil robbers kill 3 persons, including a police officer, in an attack on a bank in Owerri, the Imo State capital. Gunmen kidnapped 2 German archaeologists in Garkago local government area of Kaduna State. Acting President Professor Yemi Osinbajo withholds assent on 4 bills passed by National Assembly last year, offers explanations for rejection. And a High Court voids South Africa's decision to withdraw from the International Criminal Court.
And on business news tonight, Nigeria's Sovereign Investment Authority lays plans for infrastructure outlook in 2017.
On sports news tonight, the Confederation of African Football seeks 10 slots for Africa in the proposed 48-team World Cup plan.
And we begin tonight from Owerri, the Imo State capital, where no fewer than 3 people have been killed and several others wounded, including a police officer, when some armed robbers attacked a commercial bank on Weatherall Road, carting away millions of naira. Eyewitness account says the gunmen, numbering about 12, invaded the bank around 2 p.m., shooting sporadically into the air to scare customers away after overpowering security operatives on duty.
This is Weatherall Road in Owerri, the Imo State capital. It's a commercial hub, but the calm associated with doing business in this area is disrupted when gunmen suspected to be armed robbers made their way into a commercial bank in the community. With sporadic gunshots, according to eyewitness account, bank customers and residents had to run for their lives. In all, 3 persons died. But for the intervention of the police, perhaps more casualties would have been recorded. When Channel's television's crew arrived at the scene, the area had been cordoned off. Security operatives have restored calm to the vicinity, and residents are hoping that security would be beefed up in and around Owerri, the state capital.
And 2 German archaeologists working in Kaduna have been kidnapped by gunmen in Garkago local government area of Kaduna State. The German nationals were said to have been working in a forest at Genjela village when the gunmen swooped on them, killing a local hunter who attempted to stop them from abducting the foreigners. The spokesman for the Kaduna State Police Command, Aliyu Usman, who confirmed the incident to Channel's television, said the victims have been working with the Nok Archaeological Center for the past 10 years, conducting research on Nok terracotta and artifacts. Mr. Usman added that the anti-kidnapping squad of the police and other special forces are already on the trail of the gunmen with a view to freeing the victims. And Nigeria's acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, is withholding assent on 4 bills passed by the National Assembly last year. The acting president, in a letter read by President of Senate Bukola Saraki at plenary, gave several reasons for rejecting the bills. But in a swift reaction, a federal lawmaker, Senator Dina Melaye, argued that the acting president and indeed the executive do not have the powers to reject bills passed by the National Assembly. President of Senate Bukola Saraki said the matter would be referred to the legal department in the National Assembly.
Convey to the Senate my decision to withhold assent to the Dangerous Drugs Amendment Bill 2016 recently passed by the National Assembly. The rationale for withholding assent to the bill are the concerns regarding certain words and phrases utilized in the draft bill that may be inconsistent with the Principal Act. For example, Section 6 of the bill with Section 21 of the Principal Act, and the spirit behind the proposed amendments. Withholding of assent to the Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme Fund, Amendment Bill 2016. Pursuant to Section 58(4) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, as amended, I hereby convey to the Senate my decision to withhold assent to the Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme Fund, Amendment Bill 2016, recently passed by the National Assembly. The reasons for withholding assent to the bill are the concerns surrounding board composition, funding arrangements, limitation of liability of funds, and proposals to increase level of uncollateralized loans from 5,000 to 250,000 naira.
The role of the executive is to pass these laws, and if anyone have problem with it, is to assent to these laws. If any Nigerian group or persons have problem against it, they can approach the courts of law. It is going to be a bad day for democracy if laws that are not supported by individuals, courts will now begin, because there's a pending matter in courts, assent will be withheld.
Well, staying with the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo has written to the Speaker of the House of Representatives seeking approval for the issuance of $500 million Eurobond to fund the 2016 budget. According to the letter, which was read by the Speaker during plenary, the executive plans to issue the Eurobond in the international capital market between February and March 2017 in order to meet the capital expenditure funding plan.
The Right Honourable Speaker may wish to note that in line with the requirement of securities issuance in the ICM, a specific resolution of the National Assembly as a firm confirmation of the approval of the legislature for the Federal Government of Nigeria, FGN, to borrow the USD 500 million through the issuance of Eurobond instrument in the international capital market is required. The Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members may wish to note that the proceeds of the Eurobond are to be used as funding sources to finance the budget deficit, including capital expenditure projects as specified in the 2016 Appropriation Act. Accordingly, Right Honourable Speaker, the honourable members are requested to kindly approve by resolution of the National Assembly the issuance of USD 500 million Eurobond in the international capital market for the funding of the budget. Given that the implementation of the 2016 budget is still ongoing, we plan to issue the Eurobond between February and March 2017, subject to market conditions, in order to meet the government's approved capital expenditure funding plan. In view of this, your timely response will be most appreciated in order to facilitate the prompt completion of the Eurobond issuance.
48 hours is what the Senate is giving cabinet ministers to appear before its committees to defend their budget or risk having zero appropriation for capital expenditure. This deadline was handed down by the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, at Wednesday's legislative proceedings in the upper chamber. Our correspondent Linda Akigwe reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari presented a 7.298 trillion naira 2017 budget at a joint session of the National Assembly on December 14, 2016. More than 2 months after President Buhari presented the 2017 budget, the bill is still going through the rigors of legislative work.
We are supposed to start this defense.
In the last 3 weeks, the National Assembly has seen a steady stream of government officials come into Parliament to defend the 2017 budgets of the establishments.
But think outside the box before you're able to generate revenue.
But civil society organizations have slammed the 2017 budget, saying it is riddled with what they called frivolous and suspicious items. A transparency organization called Budget has submitted a document to the National Assembly outlining 590 questionable line items from 32 agencies in the 2017 budget. These federal lawmakers who spoke to Channels Television agreed that there are some problematic items in the 2017 budget.
There is so much huge amount of resources, billions of naira, hundreds of billions of naira spent, budgeted for things that were bought last year and are still in use. And this is common across all the budget lines and all the sectoral provisions of all the ministries and agencies.
We see duplications in certain places, but that's our job, to be able to scrutinize the various budgetary proposals.
But while some ministers and heads of government parastatals have come to defend their budgets, some ministers have not.
And we're only going to give them today and tomorrow to do that. Any minister or CEO or head of the agency that does not do that by Friday, we're not going to keep this open and hold the whole country because of a few people.
The Senate President announced that the leadership of the Senate would be meeting with Acting President Yemi Osinbajo to clear the discrepancies in the 2017 budget. The Senate has set a target of the middle of March to pass the 2017 budget. But with a budget fraught with what has been described as frivolous and suspicious items, it is not clear if the Senate and indeed the National Assembly would meet this target. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
And it was an emotional moment in the council chambers of the presidential villa as the Federal Executive Council held a valedictory session for the outgoing Minister of Environment, Amina Mohammed. Mrs. Mohammed, who has served the present Muhammadu Buhari administration for 15 months, is taking over as Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who chaired the session, described the outgoing minister as a role model to Nigerian women. Our State House correspondent, Chukwuma Onokusi, reports.
The entrance of the Vice President signals the beginning of yet another session of the Federal Executive Council meeting. It is a special council meeting of the Federal Executive Council. Midway into the session, take some time out to eulogize one of them, the Minister of Environment, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, who is leaving the cabinet for higher heights.
I was quite sure that this was the right decision that she would make, and I'm very, very happy that she did take that decision. She's been a great role model, just as it has been said, around the table for so many young people, not just young women. For my two daughters, she's a great role model. They always just say of her that she's the best.
While the Minister of Information is glad that Mrs. Mohammed is going for higher heights, those of Women Affairs, Budget and National Planning trust she will be a good ambassador.
You are the daddy minister for all my girls. They look up to you. And they were one of the first to tell me, oh, our idol is leaving for United Nations. I said, yes, I'm very happy about it. I wish you very best.
I miss you already personally. And I'm sure everybody here will miss you.
She's very firm and always well thought through.
Everybody wanted to say something about the outgoing minister. While some more describe her as a role model to Nigerian women, many others say she is a gift from Nigeria to the outside world.
She's become a role model even for my daughter Fatima.
Her prodigious intellect, her capacity for hard work, her never say die attitude.
I know she's going to do incredibly well where she's going.
It's time for her to respond, and the outgoing minister could not hold back her emotions.
For the acting president, I'd like for you to please express my deepest gratitude to President Muhammadu Buhari, our leader. He's not here today, but he's in our hearts and our prayers, and he gave me the opportunity to be of service.
She says she is proud to be the one to fly Nigeria's flag up there at the United Nations, promising to give it her best shot.
Because as I go to the 38th floor, Nigeria's flag will fly high. There's no higher floor on the United Nations building.
Madam Amina Mohammed is expected to resume at the United Nations come March 7. The prayer is that Nigeria will be celebrated by the time she finishes with her functions, holding forth as the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. Chukwuma Onokusi, Channels Television News.
And she will be missed. Moving over to the court, a federal high court sitting in Lagos has restrained Senator Stella Odua, a company, Sea Petroleum and Gas Company Limited, and its directors from making any withdrawal whatsoever from the account of the company and those of 3 other limited liability companies, to include Sea Shipping Agency Limited, Rotary Engineering Services Limited, and Tour Freight Company Limited. The company's accounts are set to be domiciled with 21 commercial banks listed before the court over an alleged indebtedness of $16.9 million and 100.4 million naira. The court also granted an order directing the banks who have Senator Odua and the 4 companies' assets to take legal possession of same up to the indebtedness and keep an interest-yielding account in the name of the Chief Registrar of the Federal High Court, pending the determination of the suit filed before the court to recover the debt. Mrs. Stella Odua and her companies, on their part, have urged the court to discharge the order made against them. They also filed a preliminary objection that is urging the court to strike out the suit on the ground that the court lacks jurisdiction to entertain same. Justice Abdulaziz Anka has adjourned till 20th of March to decide whether to vacate the order or not. And in part two, after the break, a National Broadcasting Commission issued 3-week ultimatum to broadcast stations to pay up outstanding licensing fees or face sanctions.